I found my two grandsons living under a bridge. I was shocked when I remembered that my daughter-in-law had told me they'd moved to Canada after my son's death 2 years earlier. I took them home, and then they revealed the truth about their mother. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and comment where you're watching from. I never expected that a simple sewing course would change everything I thought I knew about my family. But that's how life works sometimes. You're minding your own business, threading a needle, and then God drops a bomb right in your lap. My name is Martha Thompson, and at 68 years old, I thought I'd seen enough of life's surprises. I was wrong. It was a Thursday afternoon in late September when I drove from Austin to Lockhart for a quilting workshop. The woman teaching it, Rosa Pelosi, had a reputation for her intricate patterns, and I'd been looking forward to learning her techniques for months. The drive took about 40 minutes through hill country, past fields turning golden in the autumn light. The workshop ended around 4:30, just as dark clouds rolled in from the west. Texas weather can turn on a dime, and this storm looked mean. I hurried to my car, but the rain caught me halfway across the parking lot. Fat, cold drops that soaked through my cardigan in seconds. I decided to wait it out under the covered area near the community center, watching the rain sheet across the parking lot. That's when I noticed the creek behind the building had swollen considerably. Through the downpour, I could make out the old stone bridge that crossed it, the one they'd built back in the 1950s and never bothered to replace. Something moved beneath the bridge. At first, I thought it might be a dog or maybe a homeless person seeking shelter. But then I saw two figures, small, huddled together. Children. My heart seized. What were children doing out here in this weather? I grabbed my umbrella and made my way down the muddy embankment, my sensible shoes slipping on the wet grass. "Hello?" I called out. "Are you all right down there?" The figures didn't move. As I got closer, ducking under the low arch of the bridge, I could see them more clearly. Two boys, maybe 12 or 13, dressed in clothes that had seen better days. They were soaked, shivering, pressed against the cold stone. "It's okay," I said gently. "I'm not going to hurt you. You need to get out of this weather." One of the boys looked up, and I felt the world tilt beneath my feet. I knew that face. I knew those eyes. My son David's eyes, the same warm brown with flecks of gold. "Liam?" The name came out as a whisper. The boy's eyes widened. "Grandma Martha?" The other boy looked up then, identical to the first. "Grandma?" Noah. Liam and Noah. My twin grandsons. The boys I'd been told were living in Canada for the past 2 years. I dropped to my knees in the mud, not caring about my dress, my car, anything. "Oh my God. Oh my sweet boys. What are you doing here? What happened?" They both started crying then, launching themselves into my arms. I held them as tightly as I could, feeling how thin they'd become, how their clothes hung loose on their frames. They smelled like rain and earth and something else. Fear, maybe, or desperation. "We thought we'd never see you again." Liam sobbed against my shoulder. "Mom said you didn't want us anymore," Noah added, his voice breaking. "What? No, that's not true. I pulled back to look at their faces, wiping tears from their cheeks with my thumbs. "Your mother told me you moved to Canada. She said it was too hard to stay in Texas after your father died. She said she needed a fresh start." The boys exchanged a look, something dark and knowing passing between them. "We never went to Canada," Liam said quietly. My blood ran cold. "Then where have you been?" Before they could answer, headlights swept across the bridge above us. A car door slammed, and I heard footsteps on the wet pavement. "Stay here," I whispered to the boys, and started to climb back up the embankment. A man stood by the bridge, squinting through the rain. He was maybe 50, with a beer gut and a red windbreaker. "Everything okay down there?" "Just helping some kids get out of the storm," I called back. He took a step closer, and I saw his eyes narrow as he caught sight of the boys behind me. "Those the Thompson kids?" A chill went through me that had nothing to do with the rain. "Do you know them?" "Know them? Hell, I've been looking for them for 2 days. Their mom is worried sick." He pulled out his phone. "I should call her, let her know." "No," I said sharply, surprising myself with the force of it. Something in my gut told me this was wrong, all wrong. "These are my grandsons. I'll take care of notifying their mother myself." The man hesitated, his thumb hovering over his phone screen. In that moment, I saw something flicker in his expression. Calculation, maybe, or greed. "You're Martha Thompson," he said slowly. "David Thompson's mother." "That's right. Amanda said you were crazy. Said you'd been harassing them, trying to take the kids." My jaw dropped. "That's a lie. I haven't even spoken to Amanda since the funeral. She told me she was moving to Canada, and I respected that, even though it broke my heart." "Well, that ain't how she tells it." He took another step forward. "Look, lady, I don't want any trouble, but those boys belong with their mama, and I'm going to have to insist. The boys are coming with me," I said, and there was steel in my voice I didn't know I possessed. "If Amanda has a problem with that, she can contact me directly. Now, if you'll excuse us, we're all soaking wet and need to get home." I turned and gestured for Liam and Noah to follow me. They scrambled up the embankment, and I kept myself between them and the man, who watched us with a strange expression. "This ain't over," he called after us. "Amanda's going to hear about this." I didn't respond, just herded the boys to my car and got them inside. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely get the key in the ignition. As we pulled out of the parking lot, I glanced in the rearview mirror. The man was on his phone, his face illuminated by the screen's glow. "Who was that?" I asked the boys. They sat huddled together in the back seat, and it was Noah who answered, his voice small and frightened. "That's Kevin," he said. "Mom's boyfriend. He's the one who threw us out." The rain hammered against the windshield, and through it, I could barely see the road ahead. But I drove anyway, my mind racing faster than the car, trying to make sense of what was happening. 2 years. My grandsons had been somewhere in Texas for 2 years, and I'd had no idea. Amanda had lied to everyone. To me, to David's friends, to our whole community. She'd collected the life insurance money, David's pension, everything, and told us all she was starting over in Canada. But if she'd never left Texas, where had the boys been? And why were they living under a bridge? "Grandma," Liam said softly from the back seat, "there's something you need to know about Mom, about what really happened after Dad died." I glanced at them in the mirror, saw the fear and exhaustion written on their young faces. "Tell me everything," I said, "and don't leave anything out." As the storm raged around us and the miles disappeared beneath my tires, the boys began to talk, and with every word, I felt the foundation of everything I thought I knew crumbling away, revealing something dark and twisted underneath. By the time we reached the Austin city limits, I understood 3 things with perfect clarity. First, my daughter-in-law was not the grieving widow I'd believed her to be. Second, my grandsons had been abandoned, neglected, and very possibly worse. And third, this was only the beginning of a much larger, more dangerous story. The question was, how deep did the lies go, and who else was involved? I was about to find out. The boys fell asleep in the car before we even reached the highway. I watched them in the rearview mirror, their heads tilted toward each other, faces pale and exhausted. They looked so much like David at that age. Same sharp cheekbones, same dark hair that never wanted to lie flat. My son had been gone 2 years, 3 months, and 16 days. But seeing his children like this made the grief feel fresh and raw all over again. I lived in a modest 2-bedroom house in Travis Heights, a quiet neighborhood south of the river. David had grown up in that house. He'd carved his initials in the oak tree out back when he was 7. Amanda had never liked the place, said it was too small, too old-fashioned. She'd wanted me to sell it and move into one of those sterile retirement communities. Now I was grateful I'd refused. I pulled into the driveway just after 6. The rain had stopped, but the air still smelled like wet earth and electricity. I gently woke the boys and led them inside, my heart breaking at how they looked around the living room as if seeing a museum of their childhood. The photos on the mantel, David's old baseball trophy, the quilt I'd made when they were born. "You still have our picture," Noah whispered, pointing to a framed photo from their 8th birthday party. "Of course I do. I never stopped thinking about you boys." I made them hot showers while I prepared sandwiches and soup. They ate like they'd been starving, which I realized with horror they probably had been. I watched them devour 3 sandwiches each, 2 bowls of soup, and half a package of cookies, and I had to fight to keep my expression calm and pleasant. Only after they'd eaten did I sit down across from them at the kitchen table. "Now," I said gently, "tell me what happened. Start from the beginning." Liam and Noah looked at each other, and I saw that silent communication twins often have. Finally, Liam began to speak. "After Dad died, Mom changed. She started going out all the time, leaving us alone. She'd come home late smelling like alcohol and cigarettes. Then she met Kevin at some bar." Noah picked up the thread. "Kevin moved in maybe 3 months after the funeral. He was nice at first, but then he started getting mean. He'd yell at us for stupid things like leaving our backpacks in the living room or making too much noise." "Did he hurt you?" I asked, my voice tight. The boys exchanged another look. "Sometimes," Liam admitted. "Nothing too bad. Mostly he just ignored us. But Mom, she changed even more after he moved in. It was like she forgot we existed. We heard them arguing one night," Noah continued, "about money. Kevin said the insurance money was running out, and Mom said there was still plenty. But Kevin said she'd spent it all on stupid things. Clothes, trips, her car. He called her a lot of bad names. I felt sick. The life insurance payout had been substantial, $250,000, plus David's pension and death benefits. It should have been enough to take care of the boys for years. Mom told us we were moving to Canada," Liam said. "She made us pack up everything, and we thought we were all going together. But then one day, she just left. She took Kevin and all her stuff, and she left us in the apartment with a note saying she'd come back for us in a few days." "How long ago was this?" I asked. 2 years ago, right after she told everyone we were moving." My hands clenched on the table. "She abandoned you for 2 years?" "At first, she did come back," Noah explained. "Maybe once a month. She'd bring groceries and some cash, tell us to be good and keep quiet. She said if anyone found out we were alone, the state would take us away and we'd never see her again. We were scared, so we did what she said. But then the visit stopped," Liam added. "The last time we saw her was 6 months ago. The rent didn't get paid and we got evicted. We didn't know where to go, so we've been around, sleeping wherever we could. Sometimes in parks, sometimes under bridges. I had to stand up and turn away, pressing my fist against my mouth to keep from screaming. My grandsons, David's children, had been homeless for 6 months while their mother was off playing house with her boyfriend, spending their father's life insurance money. "Did you try to contact me?" I finally managed to ask. "We didn't have your phone number," Noah said quietly. "And Mom said you didn't want us. She said you blamed us for Dad's death, that you couldn't stand to look at us because we reminded you of him." "That's not true. That was never true." I turned back to face them, tears streaming down my face. "Your father was my whole world, and you boys are part of him. I love you more than anything." The boys started crying then, and we all ended up in a messy embrace in the middle of my kitchen floor, holding each other and grieving for everything we'd lost. Later, after they'd fallen asleep in David's old room, I'd put them in twin beds I hadn't had the heart to throw away. I sat at my computer and started digging. I found Amanda's social media first. Her accounts were set to private, but her profile picture showed her with Kevin, both of them smiling on what looked like a beach somewhere. Her location said Dallas, not Canada. She'd changed her last name back to her maiden name, Amanda Pierce, which explained why I hadn't found her in my previous searches. I found Kevin's profile next. Kevin Marsh, age 52, living in Dallas. His posts were public, full of photos from bars and restaurants, football games, trips to New Orleans and Vegas. And in several photos from the past 2 years, there was Amanda, dressed in expensive clothes, drinking expensive wine, the life insurance money. She'd spent it all on this life, while her children slept under bridges. I was taking screenshots when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Mrs. Thompson?" A woman's voice, professional and cool. "This is Detective Joan Vaughn with Austin PD. I need to ask you some questions about 2 minors who were reported missing." My heart stopped. Missing? Who reported them missing? Amanda Pierce filed a report this evening claiming her children were taken from her residence in Dallas by an unknown individual. A witness reported seeing an older woman matching your description leaving Lockhart with 2 boys fitting the description of Liam and Noah Thompson. I need you to bring them in for questioning immediately. I gripped the phone harder. Detective, those boys are my grandsons. I found them living under a bridge. Their mother abandoned them. That's not what Ms. Pierce claims. She says you've been harassing her family, that you've made threats regarding custody. She has a restraining order being processed as we speak. That's a lie. I haven't spoken to Amanda in 2 years. Mrs. Thompson, I'm going to need you to bring the boys to the station tonight, or I'll have to send officers to collect them. This is a serious matter. I looked down the hall toward David's room, where my grandsons slept peacefully for the first time in months. There was no way I was letting anyone take them away again. I'll bring them in tomorrow morning, I said. But I'm getting a lawyer first. Mrs. Thompson. I hung up. My hands were shaking. I'd never hung up on a police detective before. I'd never defied authority in my life. But something had changed in me when I'd seen those boys under that bridge. Some fundamental shift had occurred, and I knew with absolute certainty that I would not let Amanda destroy what was left of my family. I called my friend Susan, who'd gone through a nasty custody battle with her ex-husband 5 years ago. She gave me the name of her lawyer, a woman named Donna Phelps who specialized in family law. Call her first thing in the morning, Susan advised. And Martha, don't talk to anyone without her present. Not the police, not Amanda, nobody. After I hung up, I made copies of all the screenshots I'd taken and emailed them to myself at 3 different addresses. Then I went through my filing cabinet and found David's will, the life insurance paperwork, and every document related to his death. It was past midnight when I finally crawled into bed, but sleep wouldn't come. My mind kept racing, turning over the facts like puzzle pieces that didn't quite fit together. Amanda had told everyone she was moving to Canada 2 years ago. She'd convinced me, David's friends, everyone in our community, but she'd never left Texas. She'd abandoned her children, spent their inheritance, and now that I'd found them, she was claiming I'd kidnapped them. Why? What was she hiding that was worth all these lies? And how had Kevin found us so quickly at that bridge? The timing was too convenient. He'd appeared within minutes of my finding the boys, as if he'd been waiting for something like this to happen. My phone buzzed with a text message. Unknown number again. You don't know what you're getting into, old woman. Give the boys back before someone gets hurt. My blood ran cold. I screenshotted the text and added it to my evidence folder. Another text came through immediately. We know where you live. We know you're alone. Those boys don't belong to you. I got up and checked all the locks on my doors and windows. Then I moved a chair against the front door and another against the back. I was probably being paranoid, but I didn't care. In David's room, the boys still slept soundly. I stood in the doorway watching them, and I made a silent promise to my son. I would protect them. No matter what it cost me, no matter who I had to fight, I would keep them safe. My phone buzzed again. This time it was an email from an address I didn't recognize. The subject line read, "You've been warned." Inside was a single photo. My house, taken from across the street. Tonight. I could see my living room light glowing in the window. Someone was watching us right now. I grabbed my phone and called 911, but as I started to speak, I heard a sound outside. Footsteps on my front porch. The doorknob rattled. Then everything went silent. I stood in the dark hallway, my phone clutched in my hand, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst. The police dispatcher was asking me questions, but I couldn't speak, couldn't move. The footsteps retreated. A car door slammed. An engine started and faded into the distance. When the police arrived 15 minutes later, there was nothing to find. No car, no footprints in the wet grass, nothing. Just an old woman who'd gotten scared in the night, they probably thought. But I knew better. This was a warning. Amanda and Kevin were telling me they could reach me anytime they wanted. The question was, what were they really afraid I'd discover? End of Part 2. Part 3, The Turning Point. Donna Phelps arrived at my house at 7 the next morning, a sharp-eyed woman in her mid-40s with a leather briefcase and an air of absolute competence. I'd explained the situation over the phone at 6 a.m., and she'd rearranged her entire schedule to meet with us immediately. First rule, she said, sitting at my kitchen table while the boys ate breakfast in the living room. You don't speak to anyone without me present. Not the police, not Amanda, not Kevin. Nobody. The detective said she'd send officers if I didn't bring the boys in. Let her. You haven't committed a crime. Those are your grandchildren. You found them in distress, and you provided them shelter. That's not kidnapping. That's being a responsible adult. She pulled out a legal pad. Now tell me everything. I walked her through the timeline, showed her the screenshots from Amanda's social media, David's life insurance documents, the threatening texts. When I told her about the surveillance last night, her expression darkened. That's witness intimidation. We can use that. She made notes quickly. Here's what's going to happen. We're going to file for emergency custody based on abandonment and neglect. We're going to document everything. The boys' physical condition, their statements, medical examinations, and we're going to request a full investigation into where the insurance money went. Can Amanda really get a restraining order against me? She can file for one, but she won't get it. Not if we move first and establish that you're the protective party here. Donna looked at me seriously. Mrs. Thompson, this is going to get ugly. Amanda is going to fight back with everything she has. Are you prepared for that? I thought of my grandsons sleeping peacefully in their father's old room, the first safe night they'd had in months. Yes, I said. I'm ready. We were scheduled to go to the courthouse at noon, but at 10:30, Detective Vaughn showed up at my door with a partner. Mrs. Thompson, we need to speak with the minors. Donna stepped forward smoothly. I'm her attorney, Donna Phelps. You'll direct all questions through me. Detective Vaughn's jaw tightened. We're investigating a possible kidnapping. No, you're investigating false allegations made by a woman who abandoned her children for 2 years. My client found her grandchildren living under a bridge in Lockhart. If you want to investigate a crime, investigate that. Ms. Pierce claims the children ran away from home and that Mrs. Thompson has been attempting to alienate them from their mother for years. That's demonstrably false. Donna handed her a folder. Inside, you'll find evidence of Ms. Pierce's social media activity over the past 2 years, showing her living in Dallas while claiming to authorities that she'd moved to Canada with her children. You'll also find photographs of the boys taken this morning, showing signs of prolonged malnutrition and neglect. And you'll find threatening text messages sent to my client last night from an unknown number. Detective Vaughn flipped through the folder, her expression shifting from skeptical to concerned. We're filing for emergency custody today, Donna continued. The boys will be examined by a physician, and their statements will be formally recorded. If you'd like to interview them, you may do so with myself and a child advocate present. But I think you'll find that the real criminal here is not my client. The detective looked at me, then at Donna. I'll need to verify this information. By all means. We'll be at the courthouse at noon if you'd like to join us. After they left, I sagged against the doorframe. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. This is just the beginning. Donna checked her watch. Let's get the boys ready. We need medical documentation as soon as possible. At the urgent care clinic, Dr. Morrison examined both boys thoroughly. His report was damning. Both were significantly underweight for their age and height, showing signs of chronic malnutrition. Liam had an untreated infection in his left ear. Noah had scarring on his back, consistent with old injuries. Both showed signs of emotional trauma. How long would you say they've been living in these conditions? Donna asked. Dr. Morrison looked grim. Months, maybe longer. These boys have been severely neglected. The courthouse was a maze of bureaucracy, but Donna navigated it with practiced ease. We filed the emergency custody petition, submitted our evidence, and requested an immediate hearing. The judge assigned to the case, Judge Marianne Foster, agreed to see us that afternoon. I was sitting in the hallway outside the courtroom, the boys beside me, when I saw her, Amanda. She looked different than I remembered. Thinner, harder, her face expertly made up, wearing designer clothes that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage. Kevin stood beside her, his hand possessively on her lower back, and behind them was a man in an expensive suit I assumed was their lawyer. When Amanda saw me, her face contorted with rage. You! She started toward us, but Kevin grabbed her arm. You stole my children! Donna stepped between us immediately. Ms. Pierce, I'm going to advise you not to speak to my client. I don't care who you are. Those are my boys, and she has no right. You abandoned them, I said quietly, standing up. The words came out steady and cold. You left them alone in an apartment for months, and when they got evicted, they ended up homeless. You told everyone you moved to Canada while you spent their father's insurance money on your boyfriend. Amanda's eyes widened, and I saw something flicker there. Fear, maybe, or calculation. That's a lie. I have proof. Photographs? Bank records. Your own social media posts. You crazy old bitch. Kevin started forward, but their lawyer pulled him back. My clients have nothing to say at this time, the lawyer said smoothly. He was young, maybe 30, with slicked back hair and cold eyes. But I should warn you, Mrs. Thompson, that filing false allegations is a serious crime. We'll be countersuing for defamation, emotional distress, and legal fees. Good luck with that, Donna said. We look forward to discovery. Judge Foster called us into chambers at 2:30. She was a woman in her 60s with steel gray hair and a no-nonsense demeanor that reminded me of my old high school principal. She'd reviewed our petition and evidence. Ms. Pierce, she said, looking at Amanda, can you explain why you told multiple parties that you were moving to Canada when you were, in fact, living in Dallas? Amanda's lawyer leaned forward. Your Honor, my client was exercising her right to privacy. She saw no need to inform her former mother-in-law of her whereabouts. That doesn't explain why she told people she was leaving the country. My client was grieving and not thinking clearly. Where have your children been living for the past 6 months? Judge Foster interrupted. Amanda's face went pale. They were with me, in Dallas. Really? Because I have a medical report here stating both boys show signs of prolonged homelessness and neglect. That's because Amanda pointed at me. She's been poisoning them against me, telling them lies. Ms. Pierce, I've also reviewed the threatening text messages sent to Mrs. Thompson last night. Can you explain those? I never sent any texts. The messages came from a burner phone, but they referenced information only someone close to this case would know. Judge Foster looked at Kevin. Mr. Marsh, where were you last night between 10 p.m. and midnight? Kevin shifted uncomfortably. I was home, in Dallas. Can anyone verify that? I don't have to answer that. Actually, you do. This is a custody hearing, and the welfare of 2 minors is at stake. Judge Foster turned to the boys who sat quietly beside me. Liam, Noah, I'd like to speak with you privately. Is that all right? They nodded, and Donna and I were escorted to a waiting room while the judge interviewed them. Amanda and Kevin were sent to a different room, and I could hear Amanda's raised voice through the walls, though I couldn't make out the words. 20 minutes later, we were called back in. Judge Foster's expression was grave. Based on the evidence presented and the statements from the minors, I'm granting emergency custody to Martha Thompson. Ms. Pierce, you are prohibited from contacting the children or Mrs. Thompson until a full hearing can be scheduled. That hearing will take place in 3 weeks, during which time a full investigation will be conducted into the allegations of abandonment and neglect. Your Honor, this is outrageous, Amanda's lawyer protested. My client is being denied her parental rights based on the word of an elderly woman with a clear bias. Your client abandoned her children for 6 months, during which time they were homeless. That's not bias. That's fact. The boys themselves have confirmed it. Judge Foster's voice was hard. I'm also ordering a forensic accounting of the life insurance funds received by Ms. Pierce following the death of David Thompson. If it's found that those funds were misappropriated, criminal charges may follow. Amanda went white. You can't do that. I absolutely can. This hearing is adjourned. As we filed out of the courtroom, I heard Kevin hiss at Amanda. You said the money thing was buried. You said no one could trace it. Shut up, Amanda snapped back. Just shut up. My blood went cold. What money thing? What had they buried? Outside the courthouse, Donna gripped my arm. We won this round, but this is far from over. Amanda's going to come after you with everything she has. You need to be careful. What did Kevin mean about the money being buried? Donna's expression was troubled. I don't know, but I'm going to find out. In the meantime, I want you to install a security system at your house. Cameras, alarms, everything. And keep documenting everything. Every expense for the boys, every conversation, every incident. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Kevin's words, about the fear in Amanda's eyes when the judge mentioned the forensic accounting. There was something more here, something bigger than just a mother abandoning her children. At 2 a.m., I got up and went to my computer. I started searching for David's death records, something I hadn't looked at since the funeral. He'd died in a car accident on Highway 71, his truck sliding off the road during a rainstorm. The police report said it was an accident. Hydroplaning, poor visibility, tragic, but not suspicious. But now, with everything I'd learned, I wondered. I pulled up the insurance policy. It had a double indemnity clause for accidental death. If David had died by suicide or natural causes, the payout would have been $125,000. But because it was ruled an accident, Amanda had received $250,000. What if it hadn't been an accident? My hands started shaking. No, I was being paranoid. David's death was investigated. The police found no evidence of foul play. But what if they hadn't looked hard enough? I spent the rest of the night going through every document related to David's death, the police report, the autopsy, the insurance investigation. And slowly, I started to notice things that didn't quite add up. David had been driving home from work, but his route didn't usually take him on Highway 71. He normally took I-35. The accident happened at 9 p.m., but David usually left work at 5:30. His blood alcohol level was 209, just over the legal limit. But David barely drank. He'd have a beer with dinner occasionally, but I'd never seen him drunk. And then I found something else, a police note I'd missed before. An anonymous tip had been called in about a drunk driver on Highway 71, 20 minutes before David's accident. The description matched his truck. Someone had called the police on David before he crashed. Someone who knew where he was and what he was driving. Someone who wanted his accident on record as drunk driving, not murder. As dawn broke over Austin, I sat at my kitchen table with a terrible certainty growing in my chest. Amanda hadn't just abandoned her children and stolen their inheritance. She might have killed their father too. I didn't tell Donna about my suspicions right away. I needed to be sure. Accusing someone of murder based on a hunch would destroy my credibility in the custody case, and I couldn't risk losing the boys. Instead, I called the Texas Department of Public Safety and requested a copy of the full accident investigation file. I told them I was the deceased's mother and needed it for insurance purposes. They said it would take a week to process. A week felt like an eternity. Meanwhile, life took on a strange new rhythm. The boys settled into my house with surprising ease, as if they'd been waiting years to come home. I enrolled them in the local middle school, bought them new clothes, and made sure they had 3 solid meals a day. Watching them fill out, seeing color return to their cheeks, gave me a satisfaction deeper than anything I'd felt in years. But the threats didn't stop. 3 days after the hearing, someone slashed my tires in the grocery store parking lot. The security cameras had been conveniently angled away from my car. 4 days after the hearing, I received a letter from a law firm in Dallas. Amanda was suing me for grandparental alienation, defamation, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. They were asking for $500,000 in damages. "It's an intimidation tactic," Donna assured me when I showed her the letter. "They know they don't have a case. They're trying to scare you into giving up custody." "It's working," I admitted. "Don't let it. We're going to countersue for the boys' medical expenses, therapy costs, and reimbursement of the misappropriated insurance funds. By the time we're done, Amanda's going to wish she'd never filed this lawsuit." On the 5th day, I got a call from an investigator with the Texas Department of Insurance Fraud Division. His name was Marcus Webb, and his voice was all business. "Mrs. Thompson, I'm calling regarding the life insurance claim filed by Amanda Pierce following your son's death. We've been conducting an investigation based on the court order from Judge Foster, and I have some questions for you." My heart started racing. "What kind of questions?" "Can you tell me about your son's relationship with his wife in the months before his death?" I thought carefully. They were having problems. David called me a few times, said Amanda was acting strange, spending a lot of money, going out late, being secretive about where she'd been. Did he ever mention suspecting infidelity? Yes. About 3 weeks before he died, he told me he thought Amanda was seeing someone else. He'd found hotel receipts in her purse and she'd been getting phone calls she wouldn't take in front of him. Did he confront her about it? He said he was planning to. He wanted to get proof first, maybe hire a private investigator. There was a pause on the line. Mrs. Thompson, did your son have a drinking problem? No, absolutely not. David was careful about alcohol. His father, my ex-husband, was an alcoholic, and David had seen what that could do to a family. He'd have a beer occasionally, but I never saw him impaired. The police report stated his blood alcohol was 0.9 at the time of death. I know. I never understood that. It didn't make sense. What if I told you that the blood sample might have been tampered with? My breath caught. What? I can't give you details yet, but there are irregularities in the chain of custody for your son's blood work. The samples were processed at a private lab that was later shut down for falsifying test results in several cases. We're looking into whether your son's case was one of them. Are you saying Amanda paid someone to falsify the blood alcohol results? I'm not saying anything yet, but I am going to need you to document everything you remember about the time leading up to your son's death. Every conversation, every concern he expressed, every detail, no matter how small. After I hung up, I sat at my kitchen table with shaking hands and wrote down everything I could remember. David's phone calls, his worries, the night he'd told me he thought Amanda was cheating, the way his voice had sounded, tired, sad, but also determined. He'd said he loved his boys too much to let them grow up in a broken home. He was going to fix things, he'd said one way or another. 2 weeks later, he was dead. I was so absorbed in my memories that I didn't hear Liam come into the kitchen. Grandma? Are you okay? I quickly wiped my eyes. I'm fine, sweetheart. Just thinking about your dad. Liam sat down across from me. At 12, he looked so much like David it sometimes hurt to look at him. We miss him too. I know you do. He was quiet for a moment, then said, Grandma, can I ask you something? Anything. Do you think Dad's accident was really an accident? The question hit me like a physical blow. Why would you ask that? Liam looked down at his hands. Because of something Mom said once. Noah and I weren't supposed to hear, but she was on the phone with Kevin about a month before she left us. She said, at least we got away with it. And Kevin said something like, if anyone asks questions, we stick to the story. We didn't know what they meant, but after everything that's happened, my blood turned to ice. Did you tell the police this? Or the judge? No, we were too scared, and we weren't sure if we heard it right. Liam, this is important. I need you to tell me exactly what you remember. Every word. Over the next hour, Liam recounted the conversation in painstaking detail. Noah joined us halfway through and confirmed everything. They'd been in their room, but the walls were thin in the apartment. They'd heard Amanda laughing, heard her say that no one suspected anything, that the insurance money had already been paid out. Kevin had said something about a guy named Rico who owed him a favor. Amanda had told him to never mention that name again. Who's Rico? I asked. The boys shook their heads. They didn't know. I called Donna immediately. Within 2 hours, she was at my house with Marcus Webb and Detective Vaughn. The boys repeated their story. Marcus recorded every word, and Detective Vaughn took notes with an expression that grew progressively darker. This changes everything, Vaughn said when they finished. If there's evidence of insurance fraud, possibly murder, we're looking at a criminal investigation, not just a custody dispute. What about the boys? I asked. Are they safe? If Amanda finds out they're talking, we'll provide protection, Vaughn assured me. But Mrs. Thompson, you need to understand something. If this goes where I think it's going, your grandsons are going to become key witnesses in a murder investigation. They'll have to testify. Are you prepared for that? I looked at Liam and Noah, their young faces serious and frightened. They'd already been through so much. But I thought of David, my gentle, kind son who'd never hurt anyone, possibly murdered by his own wife for insurance money. Yes, I said. We're prepared. That night, police stationed an unmarked car outside my house. I installed the security system Donna had recommended, cameras on every door and window, motion sensors, alarms. The boys thought it was excessive until I explained what was really happening. You think Mom killed Dad? Noah's voice was small and broken. I think she might have, I said gently. I'm so sorry. They cried in my arms for a long time. When they finally fell asleep, I sat in the living room watching the security monitors, waiting for something to happen. It didn't take long. At 1:15 a.m., a car pulled up across the street. It sat there for 10 minutes, engine running, before slowly driving away. The license plate was obscured. At 2:30, my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Heavy breathing on the other end, then, you should stop asking questions, Martha, for your own good. Who is this? Someone who knows what happens to old ladies who can't mind their own business. Accidents happen, houses catch fire, people disappear. I was recording on my phone's app, something Donna had taught me. Is that a threat? A low laugh. It's friendly advice. Drop the custody case. Stop talking to the police. Or those boys of yours might end up back under a bridge, permanently. The line went dead. I immediately sent the recording to Donna and Detective Vaughn. Then I went to check on the boys. They were both sleeping soundly, Noah's arm thrown over Liam's shoulder, looking younger and more vulnerable than ever. Whatever was coming, I had to be ready. The next morning, Marcus Webb called with news. We found Rico. His real name is Ricardo Mendez, and he's got a rap sheet longer than my arm. Fraud, forgery, and he used to work as a phlebotomist before he lost his license for selling prescription drugs. Guess where he worked in February 2 years ago? Where? Precision Medical Labs. The same lab that processed your son's blood work. The same lab that was shut down for falsifying results. Can you prove he tampered with David's samples? We're working on it. But here's the interesting part. Ricardo's phone records show multiple calls to Kevin Marsh in the days leading up to and following your son's death. And Kevin's bank records show a cash withdrawal of $10,000 2 days before the accident. He paid Ricardo to falsify the blood test. That's what it looks like. But we need more. We need to prove Amanda and Kevin planned the whole thing. What about David's truck? Was it examined for tampering? There was a pause. The truck was totaled and sent to salvage 2 weeks after the accident, standard procedure. So there's no way to prove it was sabotaged. Not unless we can find someone who examined it before it was destroyed. Did your son have a mechanic he trusted? I thought back. Yes, Joe Martinez at Austin Auto Works. David took his truck there for everything. I'll need his contact information. I gave it to him, and after we hung up, I sat staring at the wall. The pieces were coming together, but slowly, painfully. Every new revelation felt like a fresh wound. My son had been murdered. His wife and her boyfriend had planned it, paid someone to make it look like drunk driving, collected the insurance money, and then abandoned his children when the money ran out. And now they were threatening me to keep their secret buried. But they'd made one critical mistake. They'd underestimated a grandmother's love and an old woman's determination. The full accident investigation file arrived that afternoon. I spread it across my dining room table and went through every page, every photograph, every witness statement. And there, buried in the appendix, I found something the original investigators had missed. A photograph of David's truck before it was towed away. And in that photograph, clear as day if you knew what to look for, was evidence of cut brake lines. Someone had tampered with my son's vehicle. Someone had murdered him. And I was going to prove it. The photograph changed everything. I called Marcus Webb immediately, and within hours my dining room had become a command center. Marcus, Detective Vaughn, Donna, and 2 forensic specialists crowded around my table, examining the image under magnification. There, said one of the specialists, pointing. See that clean edge on the brake line? That's not wear and tear. That's a deliberate cut, partially severed so it would fail under pressure. Can we prove it? Vaughn asked. The photograph is clear enough. Combined with the testimony about Ricardo Mendez, Kevin's cash withdrawal, and the falsified blood alcohol results, you've got a strong circumstantial case. But without the actual vehicle or a confession, it's going to be hard to prosecute. Marcus looked at me. Mrs. Thompson, we need to draw them out. Make them think they've won, get them confident enough to slip up. How? The custody hearing is in 1 week. We're going to let Amanda think she has the upper hand. We'll leak information that you're considering dropping the case, that you're overwhelmed and scared. Then we'll set up a meeting, a mediation, supposedly to work out an agreement. We'll wire you, and you'll get them talking." Donna shook her head. "Absolutely not. Martha is not trained for undercover work. If they suspect anything—" "They're already threatening her," Marcus interrupted. "At least this way. We control the environment and we have backup." "He's right," I said quietly. Everyone turned to look at me. They're not going to stop. Even if I gave them custody tomorrow, they know I suspect the truth. I'm a liability to them now. Donna's expression was pained. "Martha, they've already killed once. They've threatened you, stalked you. If this goes wrong, then at least David will have justice." I met her eyes. "I'm doing this." The next few days were a carefully choreographed performance. Donna filed a motion requesting postponement of the hearing, citing my emotional exhaustion and stress. She leaked to Amanda's lawyer that I was having second thoughts, that the boys were proving difficult to manage, that I was an old woman who'd bitten off more than she could chew. The bait was irresistible. Amanda's lawyer called within 24 hours, suggesting mediation. "Just a simple meeting," he said, "to discuss the possibility of transitioning the boys back to their mother's care. No pressure. Very casual. They're going to push hard," Marcus warned me the night before the meeting. "They're going to try to intimidate you, make you feel guilty, play on your emotions. You need to stay calm and keep them talking." He fitted me with a wire, a tiny device hidden under my cardigan. "This microphone picks up everything within 15 feet. Don't touch it, don't adjust it. Just let it do its job." The boys didn't know about the plan. Donna had insisted. They'd been through enough, and if they knew their grandmother was walking into danger, they'd never let her go. I told them I had a meeting with lawyers and I'd be home in a few hours. "Be careful, Grandma," Liam said, hugging me tight. "I always am." The mediation was set for 2 p.m. at a conference room in a downtown office building. Donna, Marcus, and Detective Vaughn would be in the room next door, listening and ready to intervene if necessary. Uniformed officers were stationed in the lobby and parking garage. I arrived 5 minutes early. My hands were steady, my mind clear. I'd spent the last week preparing for this moment, and I was ready. Amanda arrived exactly on time, Kevin at her side. She looked polished and put together in a cream-colored suit, her hair perfectly styled. Kevin wore a button-down shirt and slacks, looking more respectable than I'd ever seen him. Their lawyer, the young man with slicked-back hair, carried a leather folder. "Martha," Amanda said, her voice dripping with false warmth. "Thank you for agreeing to meet." I nodded but didn't speak. We sat down across from each other at a long conference table. The lawyer opened his folder and launched into a prepared speech about cooperation and family unity, but I barely listened. I was watching Amanda and Kevin, reading their body language. Amanda's hands were clenched in her lap. Kevin kept shifting his weight, his eyes darting to the door. They were nervous. "Good. Mrs. Thompson," the lawyer said, pulling my attention back. "My clients are prepared to be very reasonable. They understand you've grown attached to the boys, and they're willing to arrange generous visitation rights if you agree to drop the custody petition." "What about the insurance money?" I asked. The room went very still. "I'm sorry?" the lawyer said. "The $250,000 Amanda received when my son died. The money that was supposed to provide for his children. Where did it go?" Amanda's face flushed. "That's none of your business." "It became my business when I found those children living under a bridge." "We've explained that situation?" the lawyer interjected smoothly. "The boys ran away. My client has been searching for them frantically. For 6 months? She searched for 6 months and never called me? Never filed a missing persons report until after I found them?" I kept my voice calm, reasonable. "That doesn't make sense." "You're twisting things," Kevin said, his voice hard. "You're trying to make Amanda look bad because you're bitter and alone and you want to take her kids away. Is that why you slashed my tires? Because I'm bitter and alone? I don't know what you're talking about. And the phone calls? The threats? The surveillance outside my house?" Amanda's lawyer stood up. "Mrs. Thompson, if you're accusing my clients of harassment, you should file a police report. But these baseless accusations are exactly why mediation was a mistake. My clients came here in good faith. Good faith? I laughed, and there was something bitter in it. Amanda abandoned her children and spent their inheritance, and now she wants them back because she heard they've been learning about computers, promising potential with computers, and wants to control their future. She thinks they're going to be successful, and she wants to control that success. That's ridiculous, Amanda spat. They're my sons. You lost the right to call them that when you threw them away. Amanda lunged across the table, her composure finally cracking. Kevin grabbed her arm, pulling her back, but not before she screamed, "You don't know what it was like, living with David, pretending everything was perfect when he was suffocating me. I deserved that money. I earned it putting up with him for 10 years. The room went silent. So you admit you took the insurance money for yourself, I said softly. Amanda realized her mistake too late. Her eyes went wide, and she looked at her lawyer, who'd gone pale. My client misspoke, he began. No, let her finish, I said. You took the money. You spent it on yourself and Kevin. And when it ran out, you got rid of the boys because they were an inconvenience. They were more than an inconvenience, Kevin snarled. They were leeches, just like their father, always needing something, always whining. Amanda deserved better than that. Did David deserve to die? I asked, my voice cutting through the room like a blade. Everything stopped. What? Amanda whispered. Did my son deserve to die? Because that's what happened, isn't it? His brakes were cut. His blood alcohol was falsified. You and Kevin planned the whole thing. You're insane, Amanda said, but her voice was shaking. David died in an accident. An accident on a route he never took. At a time he shouldn't have been driving, with a blood alcohol level that doesn't match who he was as a person. I leaned forward. You paid Ricardo Mendez to falsify those results. Kevin gave him $10,000 2 days before David died. Kevin was on his feet. You can't prove that. Actually, I can. Ricardo's phone records show multiple calls between you. Bank records show the cash withdrawal. And we found the photographs from the accident scene showing David's brake lines were cut. The color drained from Kevin's face. He looked at Amanda, and in that moment, I saw the truth written across both their faces. Guilt, panic, and rage. You wore a wire, Kevin said flatly. You're recording this. Before I could move, he lunged across the table toward me. But the door burst open, and suddenly the room was full of police. Marcus grabbed Kevin and slammed him against the wall. Detective Vaughn moved to intercept Amanda, who was trying to run for the door. Kevin Marsh, Amanda Pierce, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, insurance fraud, and child abandonment, Vaughn said, snapping handcuffs on Amanda's wrists. Amanda was crying now, mascara running down her face. We didn't mean for it to happen this way. David was going to leave me, he was going to take the boys, and I'd have nothing. We just wanted to scare him, make him crash a little, but he died, I finished. And you took the insurance money and pretended to grieve. Shut up, Kevin hissed at her. Don't say another word. It's too late, Marcus said. We have everything we need. The wire, your confession, the evidence, it's over. As they were led away, Amanda looked back at me. Those boys are going to hate you for this. You're taking their mother away. You took their father away, I said quietly. You took their childhood, their stability, their innocence. You took everything from them, and you did it for money. If they hate anyone, Amanda, they'll hate you. After they were gone, I sat in the conference room, shaking with adrenaline and relief. Donna put her hand on my shoulder. You did it, she said softly. You got them. It's not over yet, I said. There's still the trial. They'll plead out. With the confession on tape and all the evidence, their lawyers will advise them to take a deal. She smiled. Martha, you just solved your son's murder. You brought his killers to justice, and you saved your grandsons. I did what any mother would do. No, Donna said. You did what very few people would have the courage to do. You faced down murderers and con artists, you risked your own safety, and you never gave up. That's not just being a mother. That's being a hero. I didn't feel like a hero. I felt tired, sad, and old. But I also felt something else. a fierce, burning satisfaction. David could rest now. His sons would grow up knowing the truth, knowing they'd been loved and fought for. And Amanda and Kevin would spend the rest of their lives paying for what they'd done. Marcus drove me home, where the boys were waiting anxiously on the front porch. "Grandma!" They ran to me, and I held them both tight. "It's over," I told them. "Your mother and Kevin have been arrested. They confessed to everything." I watched their faces, expecting tears, expecting grief. But instead, I saw relief. "We knew," Liam said quietly. "Deep down, we always knew something was wrong about Dad's accident. We just couldn't prove it. And now she can't hurt us anymore," Noah added. "No," I agreed. "She can't. You're safe now, both of you." That night, after the boys had gone to bed, I sat on my back porch looking at the stars. David's oak tree stood in the corner of the yard, its leaves rustling in the wind. I imagined I could hear his voice in that sound, whispering thank you. "You're welcome, son," I whispered back. "You're welcome." The fight wasn't completely over. There would be trials, testimonies, legal proceedings that might take years. But the hardest part was done. The truth was out. Justice would be served. And two boys who'd lost everything had been given a second chance at life. The trial took 8 months to reach its conclusion. But in the end, justice was swift and absolute. Amanda pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit murder, insurance fraud, and child abandonment in exchange for a sentence of 25 years without parole. Kevin, facing the additional charge of actually cutting David's brake lines, received 35 years. Ricardo Mendez, who testified against them in exchange for a reduced sentence, got 10 years for his role in falsifying the blood alcohol results. I sat in the courtroom the day they were sentenced, the boys on either side of me. Amanda looked smaller somehow, diminished in her orange jumpsuit, her hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. When the judge read the sentence, she didn't cry or protest. She just stared at the table in front of her. But before they led her away, she turned to look at us one last time. Her eyes met mine, and I saw something there I hadn't expected. Not hatred or anger, but regret. Real, genuine regret. "I'm sorry," she mouthed. I didn't respond. Some things are beyond the reach of apology. The insurance company awarded the boys a settlement of $400,000, the original policy amount plus damages for the fraud. The money was placed in a trust that I would manage until they turned 18, with strict provisions that it could only be used for their education, health, and well-being. But by then, they didn't need it as much as we'd thought they would. It started small, the way most important things do. About 3 months after Amanda's arrest, while life was slowly returning to normal, I noticed Liam and Noah spending hours on my old laptop. At first, I thought they were just playing games or watching videos, the way kids do. But when I looked closer, I saw they were watching coding tutorials, building simple programs, experimenting with software. "Dad used to do this stuff," Liam explained when I asked about it. "He worked in IT, remember? He taught us some basics before he died. We kind of forgot about it while we were, but now we're remembering. And it's fun. It makes us feel close to him," Noah added softly. I encouraged them. I bought them books on programming, upgraded the laptop, made sure they had fast internet. Their teachers at school noticed their aptitude and recommended them for advanced computer science courses. By the end of that first year, they were fixing computers for neighbors. Just simple things at first: virus removal, data recovery, setting up networks. Word spread, and soon local small businesses were calling, asking if Martha's grandsons could help them with their systems. The boys charged modest fees, just enough to cover supplies and maybe save a little. They were good at it, patient and thorough, and they genuinely seemed to enjoy solving problems. Then, about 18 months after I'd found them under that bridge, they came to me with an idea. "Grandma," Liam said, sitting at the kitchen table with a notebook full of sketches and diagrams, "we've been noticing something. All these small businesses we help, the bakery, the hardware store, the bookshop, they all have the same problems. They're using old, complicated systems that don't talk to each other. Inventory in one program, sales in another, accounting somewhere else. We think we could build something better," Noah continued, A simple system that does everything in one place. Easy to use, affordable for small businesses. That sounds ambitious, I said carefully. You're only 14. Almost 15, Liam corrected with a grin. And yeah, it's ambitious. But we've been learning, and we think we can do it. We just need your permission to try. How could I say no to that? They spent the next 6 months working on their software, testing it on our own household budget first, then offering it free to a few trusted local businesses. They listened to feedback, made adjustments, refined the interface until it was intuitive enough that anyone could use it. I watched them work with a mixture of pride and wonder. They'd inherited David's analytical mind and his patience for solving complex problems. But they'd also developed something else: resilience, creativity, and a deep understanding that came from having survived real hardship. When they finally launched their product officially, calling it Simple Biz, they priced it at $30 a month per business. Affordable enough that even the smallest mom-and-pop shop could justify it, but enough to generate real revenue if it caught on. It caught on faster than any of us expected. Within 3 months, they had 50 clients. Within 6 months, 200. Local news picked up the story. Teenage twins who'd overcome tragedy and homelessness to build a successful business. Then regional news. Then national. Tech blogs started writing about Simple Biz, praising its elegant design and practical functionality. Venture capitalists reached out, wanting to invest. By the time the boys turned 16, they'd been offered $3 million for their company. They came to me before making any decisions, spreading the offer letters across the kitchen table, the same table where we'd eaten that first meal together, where they'd told me the truth about their mother, where we'd planned our fight for justice. "What do you think we should do, Grandma?" Liam asked. I looked at these young men, no longer the frightened, malnourished children I'd found under a bridge, but confident, capable individuals with bright futures ahead of them. "What do you want to do?" I asked. They looked at each other, that twin telepathy passing between them. "We want to keep growing the company ourselves," Noah said. "We're not ready to sell. We like what we're building. But we want to use some of the investment money to expand, hire a small team, maybe develop new products," Liam added. "We'd stay in control, but we'd have resources to grow faster." "Then that's what you should do," I said simply. They accepted one of the investment offers. $2 million for 20% of the company, with provisions that kept them in control of all major decisions. They hired a small team of developers and a business manager, rented a modest office space in East Austin, and threw themselves into building something bigger. I watched all of this unfold with amazement, but what struck me most wasn't their business success. It was how they handled it. They were humble. They remembered where they'd come from. They donated computers to the local schools, funded coding programs for underprivileged kids, and made a point of hiring people who'd faced hardship, foster kids aging out of the system, formerly homeless individuals, people who just needed someone to believe in them. "Dad always said that success isn't about how much money you make," Liam told a reporter once. "It's about how many people you help along the way." The boys' success attracted attention from unexpected quarters. 3 years after Amanda's conviction, she tried to file an appeal, claiming she deserved access to their trust fund since she was still technically their legal mother. Her lawyer argued that the boys' success was built on skills she and David had provided, and therefore she was entitled to compensation. Donna shut it down in one hearing. "Your client abandoned these children," Donna told the judge, her voice cold and precise. "She left them homeless and starving while she spent their inheritance on herself. She conspired to murder their father. She has no moral or legal claim to anything these young men have built through their own hard work and resilience. This appeal is insulting and should be dismissed immediately." It was. The judge went further, terminating Amanda's parental rights entirely and granting me full legal guardianship. The boys were officially, permanently mine. We celebrated that night with homemade pizza and chocolate cake, just the 3 of us in the little house that had become our home. As I watched them laugh and joke and make plans for the future, I thought about how far we'd all come. I'd been a lonely widow, grieving my son, believing his children were lost to me forever. Now I was a guardian, a grandmother actively involved in two brilliant young lives, fighting alongside them every day. They'd been abandoned, neglected, literally thrown away. Now they were thriving, building something meaningful, proving that trauma doesn't have to define you. "Grandma," Noah said that night, after Liam had gone to bed, "can I ask you something?" "Always. Why did you fight so hard for us? You could have just let Mom take us back. It would have been easier, safer. But you risked everything." I took his hand in mine, feeling the calluses from hours spent typing code, building dreams. "Because you're my family," I said simply. "Because your father was my son, and I loved him more than life. And because every child deserves to be fought for, protected, cherished. You boys are David's legacy, the best part of him, still living and growing. How could I do anything less than fight with everything I had?" Tears shone in his eyes. "We won't let you down. You couldn't if you tried. I'm already so proud of you both." As the years passed, the story of the boys and their grandmother became something of a local legend in Austin. People would point us out in restaurants. "That's Martha Thompson and her grandsons, the Simple Biz kids." But we never let it go to our heads. The boys finished high school early, enrolled in computer science programs at UT Austin, and continued to run their company with impressive maturity. Simple Biz expanded beyond inventory management to include payroll, scheduling, and customer relationship management, always with the same focus on simplicity and affordability. By the time they were 21, the company was valued at $50 million. They could have sold and retired. Instead, they doubled down, using their resources to create programs that helped small businesses survive economic downturns, offering free services to nonprofits, and establishing a scholarship fund for students pursuing technology education. They named the fund after their father, the David Thompson Memorial Scholarship for Students Overcoming Adversity. I attended the first scholarship ceremony, watching as 10 deserving students received funding for college. The boys gave speeches about resilience, about the people who'd helped them, about the power of second chances. "We were given a second chance when our grandmother found us and refused to give up on us," Liam told the audience. "She taught us that wisdom isn't about age or education. It's about courage, determination, and love. She showed us that you can face down any obstacle if you're fighting for something that matters." "She's our hero," Noah added. "And we hope to spend the rest of our lives making her proud." I cried like a baby, but they were wrong about one thing. They weren't making me proud. They'd already done that 1,000 times over. They were making David proud, wherever he was. They were honoring his memory by being good, kind, brilliant men who used their gifts to help others. As I sat in my garden that evening, David's oak tree swaying in the breeze, I thought about the journey that had brought us here. It started with a rainy afternoon and 2 frightened boys under a bridge. It continued through threats and danger, courtrooms and confrontations, long nights and difficult decisions. But it ended here, in peace, in safety, in a future bright with possibility. People often told me I'd saved the boys, but the truth was more complicated than that. We'd saved each other. They'd given me purpose when I thought my life was over. They'd reminded me that I was stronger than I knew, braver than I believed, more capable than anyone expected. And in return, I'd given them what every child deserves: a safe home, unconditional love, and someone who would fight for them no matter what. The house in Travis Heights, with its old oak tree and its memories of David, had become more than just a place to live. It was a symbol of survival, of family, of the truth that love is stronger than greed, that wisdom triumphs over violence, that patience and determination can overcome any obstacle. Amanda and Kevin had tried to destroy this family for money. They'd killed and lied and abandoned children to cover their crimes. But in the end, they'd lost everything. And we'd won everything that mattered. I looked up at the stars beginning to appear in the darkening sky, and I whispered the words I said every night. "Rest easy, David. Your boys are safe. They're thriving. And I promise you, I'll keep protecting them for as long as I have breath in my body." The wind rustled through the oak tree, and I chose to believe it was David's way of saying thank you. My phone buzzed with a text from Liam. "Movie night tomorrow?" Noah says it's your turn to pick. I smiled and texted back. Sounds perfect. Love you both. The response came immediately. Love you too, Grandma. More than you know. I put my phone away and sat in the gathering darkness, surrounded by the sounds of my neighborhood. Children playing, dogs barking, the distant hum of traffic. Ordinary sounds of ordinary life. But there was nothing ordinary about what we'd survived, what we'd built, what we'd become. We were proof that age is not weakness, but strength. That lived experience trumps youthful arrogance. That a grandmother's love is a force to be reckoned with. And that sometimes, the most important battles are fought not with weapons or violence, but with patience, intelligence, and an unshakable commitment to protecting the people you love. The boys and I had started under a bridge in a rainstorm, with nothing but each other. Now we had everything, and no one, not Amanda, not Kevin, not anyone, could ever take that away from us again. Now tell me, what would you have done if you were in my place? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to check out the video on your screen right now. I'm sure it will surprise you.